Welcome to the Lightning Out the Bottle podcast. I am your host, Mr. Leach, and it's so good to be back talking Charger footballs with you guys again. What a great time to be a Charger fan, right, man? What a great time to be a Charger fan. Here we are, week 4. The Chargers are not only sitting at the top of the AFC West, winning 3 straight head-to-heads in the division matchups, but also on top of the AFC and the NFL with that perfect record. And 3-0, man, it feels so good to say. It's been a long time. And it's good to say I predicted this. I predicted that the Chargers would start 4-0. And against a pretty downtrodden New York Giant team, this has a very strong possibility of coming true. The last time we started off 3-0 was way back in 2002. But we went downhill pretty quick, finishing that season 5-8, with an 8-8 season. That was rough for those who remember that, you know what I mean? It was a rough season. So the good thing is that all of our games came against the division rivals, man. The feat since that hasn't been done since the Bears did it in 2006 on their way to the Super Bowl. So it's exciting, man. I'm excited, and you guys should be excited too, man. Bowl gang, we might be back, baby. We might be back on them. Yes. Last week we got out of there with a W by the skin of our teeth, man. That Broncos defensive line was all over Justin Herbert. I mean, all over him. They hit him a ridiculous 14 times, man. 14 times, with one of those resulting in his first interception of the season. And my biggest fear, man, it's come too early in this young season, man. With the injury to Slater starting off, man. I knew that we didn't address this O line enough in the offseason. I knew it. I was like, we need to go big on those on some linemen. Whether that had been trading back out of the spot. I mean, we never thought Marion Hampton would be there, so we had to take him. But, if he wasn't there, we could have traded back. That would have been beautiful. But we should have figured out another way to get some linemen in the building. You know what I mean? Because the situation right now may be dire. It may be dire. It may be bad enough to say this is going to be a terrible, terrible stretch of games for the offensive line, especially where they played, last weekend, man. They really only added Becton and Andre James. Just be honest, they traded for Deculus, but they traded for him, I think, in August. So he was a later addition. They got a bunch of guys. They signed 6 undrafted free agents. They got a couple of guys. They tried to address it the best they could, I guess, but it wasn't enough, and we all knew that from the beginning. We all knew that immediately. As soon as we came up out of that period, we were like, yeah, we should have did more on the line. They drafted Branson Taylor in the 6th round, I believe. So, they did do some things on the line, but I just knew it wasn't enough, man, because we're in a bad situation right now. They brought back Bradley Bozeman. None of us were in favor of that, but he was a locker room guy, and they loved him. So I see why they did that. I mean, I just don't think that we all agreed with that move. And like I said, man, they got 6 undrafted free agents, and so that was about a total of 10, I think 11 linemen, but the quality of those linemen was not there. It was not there for what they were trying to do. What they put together, they didn't address that offensive line enough. I mean, I personally don't think they did. You know, um, 7 of those players were rookies and not quality ones, man. Andre James is a backup. Becton, Bozeman, he is what he is. Beckham was a decent addition for run blocking, but I mean, he's out with a concussion for this game, so he's not even gonna be in the game. He spent the early part of this Broncos game getting cooked. Like when he was in there, he was getting cooked, man. He looked too big, too slow. He looked outmatched on passing plays. He was giving up. He definitely needs to lose some weight, man. He definitely needs to lose some weight and get in better shape because he was gassed out there. And I hate to talk about him while he's on IR or IR. I'm sorry, while he's out for this concussion. But the truth of the matter is, he looked terrible in the early going of that game against an elite defense. He was not ready for that. He was not ready for that. You know, because that performance it was not there before he got injured. It was not there. And it made it very easy to understand why the Eagles let him get away. He couldn't have been staying in shape because he's not in shape right now. He didn't look in shape, at least not to me. You know what I mean? So, on the opening play, he got bullied bullied into the backfield and they got smacked on Marion Hampton. They lost like 2, 3 yards on the first carry of the game. So it came right out the gate. He was giving up. He was giving up ground immediately. He got that holding penalty. He got beat on the inside, getting Herbert hit. That's why Herbert threw the interception. Because Becton got beat up the middle. You know what I mean? And he honestly looked completely out of shape. That's just he needs to get in shape. That's ridiculous. Um, yeah, Pipkins didn't look any better. He was getting beat on the outside all game. He was getting beat all game on the outside. Just it was crazy how they was walking to Justin. Then Beckham went out and Sawyer came in and Sawyer got that was a nightmare. Sawyer got completely ran over. He didn't even look like an NFL player at times. Most of the time, yeah, that play he got blasted and he just ran over. It was just I didn't know what to say. You know what I mean? He got completely ran over. Completely. It was ridiculous. The right side of that line is in complete shambles right now. The game completely showed. This game completely showed us what the absence of Rashawn Slater is. Like you can see what it meant to this line. Joe Ortiz, I mean, he might need to take a big swing here. He might need to take a big swing here because we simply cannot move forward with this current line and expect to compete with the top tier defenses in this league. We just can't. They play so bad. Joe Alt looked like an average lineman because he got smoked a couple of times too. A few times around the outside by Benito. A few times. Zion Johnson got embarrassed so bad. Zion Johnson got embarrassed so bad that Justin had to make probably the most epic play we have ever seen the Chargers quarterback pull off. Definitely the signature play of his career. Definitely. You know what I mean? So it was just it took him getting smoked. That's what Justin had to do all of that. All of that. Let that sink in. And don't even get me started on Matlock because he can't block whatsoever. He can't block whatsoever. You know what I mean? He don't give him no straight up blocking assignments. That's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Amari and Hampton though, I love his effort when he's blocking. Cause he gets smacked a few times. He got up, found someone else to block. You know what I mean? That's what we're looking for. That's exactly what we're looking for effort wise in the blocking department. You get hit, you get blasted, you get up, you look for somebody else to hit. Or get hit. That's how it works. You know what I mean? Throw a body on somebody. That's what my coach used to say. Throw a body on somebody. You know what I mean? And he definitely does that. So I love to see that out of the young kid. You know what I mean? Yeah, but something has to be done about this line. Well, Marion Hampton had somewhat of a breakout game with 19 carries for 75 yards on his first TD, right? So he also had 6 catches for 59 yards on 7 targets. He also had one kick return for 30 yards, and I don't know whose bright idea it was to have him out there on kick return, but he definitely should not be on kick return. If he gets hurt behind that nonsense, man, I'm gonna be furious. I'm gonna be furious if Amarian Hampton is out here returning kicks and he gets injured, bro, bro. Are you serious, man? Kamani Vidal and Hassan Haskins being our only running backs, man, that would be disastrous. You know what I mean? Ruckus Sanders would look real good in that powder blue right now, and I'm still mad they cut him. To be honest with you, that was ridiculous. I don't know why they cut him. It had to be something behind the scenes. Maybe he wasn't that good, but I mean, right now we definitely could use Rocket Sanders in the backfield. You know what I mean? That would just add that would add us a great amount of depth. Maybe we can get a trade for him, get him back, give up a future seventh or something like we did with Deculus. But we need to get something in there. Joe Ortiz got to make a move or two. He got to make a move or two. Najee gone. You know what I mean? The whole season. So we definitely need another running back, a quality running back. Maybe Vidal has gotten better, and Hassan Haskins isn't terrible. So I'm not going to sit here and act like they're terrible. It would be terrible as them 1 and 2, but as 2 and 3, it's not dire. But I would just like to see somebody else in there. The wide receiver room continues to impress with the resurgence of Slayer, you know what I mean, and the emergence of Quentin Johnson onto the scene. Keenan added another 7 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown on 11 targets, while QJ added 6 catches for 89 yards on 10 targets. And while the majority of focus, from us and the media has been on those two, right? Ladd had a quiet 4 catches for 41 yards on 7 targets. Some say he's in a sophomore slump, but really it's because he was the whole passing offense last season, right? So that's teams are really focused on him from all the film they have on him from last season. That's allowed the offense to open up the other receiving spots. Eventually, teams are gonna have to lighten up on the coverage with him, and he'll get some one-on-one situations. And as long as K and QJ keep performing, eventually the big bad lad will get the space though. He's gonna need to bust loose. So, but speaking of busting loose, Rondé Gasson immediately making his presence felt, adding 5 catches for 46 yards on 7 targets. Man, we all been excited to see what he was gonna be able to do, and he did not disappoint us at all. You know, he made some good catches. So Herbert has some real. He has 5 real options to get the ball to right now, and the line is in disarray. That's so we have to watch that, man. That's a very big focus. We really need to be worried about that. That's not something we cannot be worried about, right? This giant defensive line is not to be taken lightly at all. With Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Abdul Carter, and Brian Barnes over there, man, he already got 4 sacks. You know what I'm saying? And he already got a forced fumble. So that dude's gonna be a pain to deal with, right? And Dexter Lawrence, come on, man. Dexter Lawrence is 6'4", 340 pounds of pure problems against Bradley Bozeman and Andre James. Right? We already assume Pipkins is going to be getting beat on the outside most of the game, so you cannot be giving up pressure up the middle, too, or it's over before it even starts. But we'll deal with this when we get to it. But Herbert doing Herbert stuff. 28 passes for 47 yards, 300. I mean, sorry, 28 for 47 with 300 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He had a QBR of 44.1 and a 76.6 rating. He was hit 14 times, man. I can't wrap my head around that, man. 14 times. You know what I mean? That's so far past ridiculous. I don't even know what to say. Right? He made the most crazy play to tie the game. It was the catch was crazy by K13. That was wild too. Give him props for that. To bring to bring that thing in with the defender all over him like that, and shout out to Pipkins. Shout out to Pipkins. On that play, he got beat off at the top, when the ball snapped, but he got back into that play and he saved that block. That's how I need him to play on every play, right? That's what we want to see out of Pipkins every single play. Even if you get beat, get back in there, man. Fight for that. Don't let Justin get hit, man. Don't let Justin get hit, man. That's the most important part. You know what I mean? And New York is going to be breathing down Herbie's neck. So I'm hoping we see a lot more dink and dunk. Amore and Hampton needs to be the focus of this offense for the next couple of weeks. Haskins and Vidal need to be more involved, right? A couple of deep routes off of play action, but mostly, we need to be short, intermediate routes. With Greg Roman needs to put more screens into the rotation, man, and we need to create some easy catches, easy looks, 5 to 8 yards. Get the ball into the hands of your playmakers and let them do what they do. Right. This would actually be a great week for Ladd to have his breakout game. This would be a great week for that, right? So I'm excited. We should win this game, but we'll see. The defense was all during James last game, man. He was everywhere, bro. The man had 12 tackles, 10 solo tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, a sack, and a hit on both necks, right? That dude's an animal, man. That dude is a beast, bro. That dude to me, man, that's got to be the best safety in the league. I know people say there's other ones, and I'm sure there are, but Derwin is just special, man. He's something different. He's not even really a safety. We don't even really know what he is. He's just on the field. That's what Derwin's is on the field. He just that's what I don't know what he doing this play, but he gonna do something to disrupt this play. I promise you. So I mean, 12 tackles and 10 solos, bro. That's brutal. That's brutal. You know what I mean? So, Tony Jefferson showing he deserved that contract, added another 5 tackles. He had 4 solo tackles and a pass deflection. Troy Dye got a sack, still made a couple of big plays, but they were getting taken to the woodshed deep, man. Let's just be real about that. We're lucky Bo Nix missed those deep bombs because, it looked like to me Sean Payton found a hole in Jesse Mitchell's defense, and it's the top of the defense. And with Malik Neighbors on the way, we definitely need to shore that up. Elijah Molden, I don't think he'll be playing in this game. I think He's questionable right now. He may go. We will see. You know what I mean. I hope he does get back. But he may not be able to go this Sunday, right? So I need to see more. I need to see more R.J. Mickens. I want to see R.J. Mixon and Kyle Kanar on the field. We need to see. I want to see both of them on the field getting snaps, and this is the week to do it, right? They have a rookie quarterback starting, and we all know Kyle Kanar. He already sacked him once when they played Ole Miss versus South Carolina in 2024, right? So he's actually seen this quarterback in game situations. So I think he will be more comfortable on the field having heard this cadence before. He already knows this quarterback. He knows what this quarterback likes to do, his little nuances, because he studied him in college, right? So you know, I would love to see both of those guys on the field. This is trial by fire, right? Jamari Caldwell's already showing us what he got, right? Um, the two young wide receivers aren't showing us much yet because they haven't really had a lot of opportunities. But Arante Gatson came on the field. He showed us something special, right? Omarion Hampton's 129 yards, that showed us something special. So, I really want to see these two defensive players get their opportunity. RJ Mickens, I think, as a late round pick, is going to be great for us, right? And I think Kyle Kanar was the fourth round pick. So I think he needs to see this field, right? And this is a great time to get him into the game. And I think he can really do some good stuff. We give him some good run, right? Let Bud Dupree get rest. And Thule, he needs to come out some because Thule, I think, is getting gas because he's having to do a lot of the work with Mac out. Mac's going to be gone for at least another 4 weeks, I think, right? Give it about 5 weeks with the dislocation. That's a big dude. So that's a big dislocation. You know what I mean? So that's going to take about 6 weeks before he's actually on the field 100% again. Because even if he comes back in 4 weeks or 5 weeks, he's going to have that gingerness to it. You're not going to want to hit it. It's going to take a game or two for him to get back. So um, I do want to see Kyle Kennard get in there and get some playing time. At least see what we got and see how far along he's come. Give him a good chunk of the run. You know what I'm saying? And just see what we got. Plus, we just gonna need bodies dealing with Cam Scatterbo, man. He is what we thought he was. He's a mini tank, right? So the Chargers do a good job of that anyway, but they really do need to swarm to the ball on this guy, right? And gang tackle him because, he'll drag a defender, 2, 3 yards all the way to a first down, right? This is gonna be a different offense, a different Giants offense than we've seen the last few weeks with Dart. He can play. The boy can play. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna act like he can't play. Right? He's pretty good. Right? He has a pretty decent arm. He's somewhat accurate. His deep ball is suspect though. His deep ball is suspect. So that's going to be a big problem dealing with Malik Neighbors, but I'm sure he can get him something if we let him. But, short intermediate routes, he's pretty good, and, he can extend plays. He's quick on his feet. He escapes sacks. He's not very good against zone defenses, though, which the Chargers love to run. And sometimes he could be rushed out of the pocket. And when he does get rushed out of the pocket, he makes terrible decisions. So, this could be a trap game, or this could be a cruise to victory. It's really going to depend on a few things. It's going to depend on, I would say, 6 or 7 different things that the Chargers need going to do to come away with victory. Number one is that offensive line. They really need to get it together. They really need to get it together. They need to tighten up all the way. They need to tighten up. Becton is out. Bozeman may or may not play. That leaves us with a starting line of left to right: Joe Alt, Zion Johnson, Andre James, Jamari Sawyer, and Trey Pipkins. If I were ever dependent on the coaches to coach them up, it is this week. If ever there was a time when coaching mattered, it's gonna be this week because that line is very, very suspect, bro. That's not a solid line that I want Justin Herbert standing behind. So we got to get that ball out of his hands really quick. You know what I mean? So, but that needs to happen, man. They need to shore up this line for sure. Like I said, they just need to get the ball out of Justice's hands fast, short, intermediate routes, screens, run plays, get Amari and Hampton involved, Hassan Haskins involved, Kamani Vidal, see how much he's actually grown. Um, get him involved, get Aronde Gasson involved, right? You want to get all of these guys involved. Lad definitely needs to get involved, but they need to be quick routes, in route slants, You don't really want to do too many big deep routes, posts, none of that stuff, man. You don't want to really do that right now because I don't think the line is there. I mean, you got to get that play action going if you want to do that. You got to really get Omari and Hampton and those guys going if you want to go deep because you're going to need that play action, bro. You're going to need every disguise you can, maybe a flea flicker. Definitely, we just need to get the ball out of his hands quick. They also need, like I said, they need to get Ladd involved early, right? And they need to scheme him open the first couple of drives. That's what they need to do. They can't just depend on the plays that they're calling him to get open. They need to scheme Ladd McConkey open. They need to get him the ball quick in space and let him run and get his legs under him for this season because he's not really getting the catches that he's used to. And we need to up his catch count to about 7 or 8, right, to match the other guys. Everybody's getting about 6 or 7. He needs to be around that number 2. You know what I'm saying? So if it's got to be short plays, whatever it's got to do, you got to get the ball in the hands of Ladd McConkey and let him make some plays early in this game. You know, 4 they got to feed Amari and Hampton. That's just you just got to do it. That's what we got to do. Give him the ball because we can't really depend on those other 2. So we got to feed Omari and Hampton the ball. Let him take a lot of the hits instead of Justin taking the hits because that's what he's there for. Get us some good yards. Number 5, the defense is going to have to get pressure on Dart and keep him contained at the same time. And to change coverages at the line, disguise their coverages, disguise the blitzes to make him make decisions after the snap. They need to have him making decisions on the fly while the pressure is coming. If they can do that, they'll force him to make mistakes. We'll probably see a turnover or 2 coming out of Jackson Dart. 6, they're going to need to gang tackle Cam Scatterboo like he owe everybody money because he's a wrap up tackle. He is not a lower your pass tackle. He will drag you to a first down, push you all to the ground, step on your chest. So they need to come at him 2-3 deep every time. Just wear him. Every time he catches the ball, 2-3 people need to hit him. We need to wear him down early in that game because they're going to depend on him a lot. We're going to have to definitely gang tackle him. You know, one of my favorite sayings that the coach used to say to me is, don't get beat deep. We need to keep Malik Neighbors in front of us at all times, right? We cannot let that guy get behind us because he will cause problems if we do. We've seen it. You know, when he was playing against the Cowboys, he was cooking them, right? So, and the way the Chargers were getting beat deep last week, that's a terrifying scene. Good thing that Jackson Dart can't really throw a good deep ball, but he may, right? He can't. He may throw one on us, right? So they got to keep Malik Neighbors in front of us. We cannot let that kid get behind us because he will cause all kinds of problems for our defense all night long. All right. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for joining me on the Lightning Out the Bottle podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you get my videos first. And as always, baby, bolt up. Lightning out the bottle, baby. Let's go!